everybody and welcome back to my channel. This is the second time that I'm attempting to film this video because I filmed it for like 30 minutes and then I uploaded this morning and it was all out of focus. If you follow me on Instagram, you already know the drama of this Monday morning, but it is 5:20 right now. I finished my work and now we are refilming and answering all of the questions. If you don't know, I just moved to Canada in November 2022. So I just celebrated my 6 months here, which is insane because I don't know where the time goes, but at the same time I felt every single level and day of this. I've been going through ups and downs. Like sometimes it's butterflies and rainbows and sometimes it's like, what the hell? Why is it not sunny yet? So yeah, I'm going to be answering all of you guys this question. I have so many that you guys submitted on Instagram, so if you have any other questions that I don't go through this video, make sure you follow me on Instagram. I do Q&As ever since I arrived here because I know that a lot of people do need answers and I have been blessed to be helped by a lot of people who didn't even know me sometimes, so returning the favor here. Let's get right into it. First question is, how long did it take you to get your PR card? So my PR card, if you don't know, obviously it is the permanent resident card and it is kind of your ID here in Canada, but at the same time it's treated like your passport. So first thing I'm going to say is, whether you get it or not, you should not be going out and, you know, roaming the streets of Toronto, whatever city you live in, with your PR in your wallet. Your PR stays somewhere safe. It took me, I think, about 2 months until I got my PR card. So I arrived in November. It took me some time to add a friend's address for them to send my PR card to that address. You can ask about that in immigration services once you arrive in the airport, or you can go to the government website and find the forms to add the address, but that's the most important thing. And then whatever time it takes, I mean, unless you have some travels planned or anything, other than that you can wait for it. Okay, second question is, what is the average cost of life per month in Toronto? And someone else asked, life in Toronto, is it expensive? So I understand that Toronto has a reputation to be extremely expensive, and it is expensive even within Toronto or Canadian standards. However, the most expensive thing here is obviously rent, and it starts with $2,300. That's kind of the average for like a small one bedroom, and I pay $2,500 for one bedroom plus den, and I actually got it during winter time. So you have to keep in mind that coming here during the spring or summer, there's a lot of competition to get in apartments, and obviously during the winter a little bit less, and it starts going down in the fall and things like that, just because during the spring and summer there's students that are looking for rent, landlords are renting their places for Airbnb, there's like so much going on, so prices kind of fluctuate. A lot of people are talking about a one bedroom costing $3,000 in the market, but that's really like a really big average. I was just looking at apartments right now on a website. It's condos.ca. It's a pretty good website to find rent in. There is some overpriced units, but I definitely think it's within the $2,500 for a one bedroom during this time. Am I still in focus? I don't want to find out tomorrow. Oh my god, the sunshine. I actually started a new habit of meditating right where the sun hits, and it's been so good. Next question is, best tips to finding rent in Toronto. Is it better to go in smaller cities near Toronto? Is it better to go to the GTA, which is the little cities around Toronto that are actually part of Toronto? I think so, yes, if you want to only take into consideration the price of rent. Now you have to think about TCO, the total cost of ownership or total cost of just living in those neighborhoods. So if you go into a neighborhood that's a little bit far and then you end up working in downtown, that means that you're gonna spend a lot more money, you know, taking the TTC, the subway and things like that. But I understand as a newcomer, you may be coming without a job and without employment, so you don't know exactly where you're going to live. So I suggest not being too far from downtown by like 30 minutes with the TTC. I feel like that's the furthest you should go if you still don't know where you're gonna work. And there's another question that's kind of the same. Congrats, thank you so much. Is it a good idea to live far away from downtown to save up on rent? As I said, yes, it could be a good idea. However, just keep in mind that you might be using a lot of subway and a lot of transportation to go wherever you need to go. There's like downtown, the core, and then there's also like a little bit further in the city, there's a west end, there's the east end. Is the east end and a west end, and then you go into neighborhoods neighborhoods are a little bit farther. Midtown to North York, the further you go, the cheaper it's supposed to get, but we never know. Just celebrated my 2 months here in here. Big up for all of us who made it here. Cheers to that. It is not easy. Do you think it is possible to rent a studio solo without employment and credit score? Oh, I really struggled with this idea that coming as a newcomer and you don't have credit history, you don't have employment. If you have been following me, you know that I actually had a job before coming here, but all of the paperwork was taking a long time, so I wasn't able to get any letter to say that I'm actually working at this company and this is how much I'm gonna get paid and please freaking trust me. Like, I had none of that. I was just as a fresh newcomer as everybody else, and so it was way harder to find rent. Thankfully I did use an agent, so if you can find a real estate agent, they can help you find rent. Some of them are very, you know, flexible and they understand your situation, and other ones, they were just like, no, we can't work with you, it's really hard to get you accepted, so I'm sorry. When you have a letter of employment, you can send that to me, but if you don't have a letter of employment, we can't work together. That was the attitude, so that was a little bit hard. However, just keep an open mind, stay positive, you will find rent. As a newcomer, you don't come as if, you know, with $0 in your pocket. You will make sure that you have a shelter. Keep an open mind, use a real estate agent, and some other agents were asking me to have a guarantor, which is essentially someone that will sign the lease agreement with you, and that person needs to be working and living in Canada. And if you've been watching, you know that I have no family or nobody that I can like give such a responsibility to, and I feel like that's too much to ask for. And I also don't have any family around here, like on this whole side of the world. So I had to actually hop on a second Airbnb because I couldn't find rent in the first 10 days that I landed. So it took me a month to find rent. What's the cheapest option for short-term rentals and how long does it take to find a studio? Yeah, about the cheapest options, I feel like you just have to go into Airbnb and look at the whole map and make sure that you're not too far away again, because you're gonna have to go back and forth and to finding rent and whatever. If that doesn't bother you, then go ahead. The period of time that you're looking for things can really change the price. It can change the rate. It can change so much. My second Airbnb that I was looking for, it was in the middle of November, so it was December is gonna come, the holidays, and you know, so much was gonna happen in the city, so rates were really high. So I ended up being a little bit far from downtown, but not too far. I think I had to take subway and change it once to get to downtown, so it wasn't too bad. There's a subway and a streetcar, so don't be scared to like leave the downtown core a little bit. And it was $2,500, which is crazy because that's what I pay for my rent for a month here, and that's what I paid for 10 days in an Airbnb back in November. But I also didn't realize that it was a house and not a one bedroom, and I also had a standard that I could not go under. I had one single rule for me when I came to Canada. I was not gonna find myself in a basement apartment or a basement room or a basement anything. Airbnb, like I couldn't even think about being in a basement during an Airbnb. And the only reason is, I'm not saying that it's bad or anything like that. There's a lot of basement apartments here. In any like cold country, there are basement apartments. My mental health is not that strong, and moving away from Morocco and leaving my family behind, and no matter how convinced I am of my choice, it is still emotionally draining and emotionally hard. So I do feel that sometimes, and if I were to be in a basement apartment and it was snowing and it's dark and I'm not finding rent, and with everything that happened during the first month that I arrived here, I would have lost it a long time ago. So if you can actually take that, you know, like for 10 days, let's say you have a basement apartment, you can get it for way cheaper. So they are cheap. I was just not able to do that. Next question is, what is the job market looking like right now in Toronto? I'm not gonna lie, I don't know what the job market looks like right now. However, when I was looking, and as a rule of thumb, there is a lot of opportunities here in Canada. There's a lot of them. If you're willing to search, you're willing to go through, you know, interview process and things like that, and know how to sell your skill set, you're gonna be fine and you're gonna find a job. So it really depends on your industry. It depends on your skill set. Are you able to downgrade Do you want to upgrade? And that will kind of decide for the pool that you're gonna be working with. Next question is, what websites did you use for your job hunt? And I actually made a whole video about this. I will link it down below, about finding a job before I landed in Canada. I was very fortunate and I'm very, very happy and blessed that I had. Just to not make this video extremely long, I will link it down below and you can watch all the details. The websites, it's Indeed.ca and LinkedIn. Best tips to finding jobs from Morocco: 3 years of experience. I have been selected from the pool. So the only reason I'm answering this question is because she said that she's been selected from the pool, and I advise that you start looking for a job when you actually have the confirmation of PR or like permanent residency. When you're selected, you don't know how long it's gonna take for you to get a visa. You can't really defend yourself during the interviews. These days it doesn't really take that long to get a visa. I had to wait 2 years, you guys. Like, I filed my immigration in 2020 and I got my visa in summer of 2022. Like, it's insane, okay? So now I have like people telling me about 3 months, 4 months of wait to get their visa. So that's crazy. So I wish you good luck and I really hope that you're gonna get your visa ASAP. You can work on your CV, you can ask other people as well, you know, just get as much data as you can about the job market, and then when you have the visa, then start, you know, getting interviews, start applying everywhere, so that when you're doing the interviews, you're very much confident, like, I'm coming anyway, can we work, you know? Is it a good fit? That would be the only question. This is not gonna be more paperwork. I have it handled. I already have my visa. I'm gonna come anyway. We can focus on my skills, we can focus on the job, we can focus on, is it a good fit, and things like that. So I would advise to wait for your visa. Other than that, I would advise to also do as much research as you can. Social life in Toronto. I'm in Ottawa and I feel lonely after 2 months here. I feel so bad because I do feel lonely sometimes, and I totally understand that it's part of the process. You have to understand that you are rebuilding, and you cannot rebuild on something that already exists. You know what I mean? Like, you're starting from scratch. Give yourself some grace and be patient with yourself. I love the fact that Toronto has so much going on and there's always something to go to. I follow some people in Ottawa. Ottawa is very much family oriented, and Toronto is like, if you're Moroccan, it's kind of like our Casablanca. The social life, wherever you are, you just have, as an adult, you have to put yourself out there. You have to find people that are in your area. Not really, like, social media now makes it a little bit easier. You can see if there's any events for adults to make friends and like go to those events. I have found a social club here in Toronto that's called Toronto Girls Social, and there's another one that I found also on TikTok on my For You page, and it's also about activities and things like that that bring adults that want to make new friends together. And I feel like that's how you make friends as an adult. And I'm talking from experience because I did travel all throughout Europe. I did a bunch of solo trips and I make friends wherever I go, and then I just go back home with a bunch of new friends. And you just have to keep an eye on what's going on in your city. And if you ever come to Toronto, hit me up. And the last question is, don't you see any negatives? So I have sat down and thought about this question a lot because I feel like I don't want to give myself the permission to start complaining about my life here. I feel extremely blessed and extremely grateful, you know, for coming here and for things to happen the way that they happened, and, you know, for being able to come and with a job already in my pocket. It's not just a job, it's also a job that I really love, and being able to find an apartment that I really love in the area that I dreamed about. And it's just I feel like I'm too blessed to even think about a negative, and I could find negatives. And I'm not gonna lie, like, there are things that actually shocked me, like the amount of homeless people that are here in the city and the housing crisis. Those are things that I was not really aware of before coming here, and it's not really something that I can change just like that. It's the country's situation, it is political, it is way deeper than we can make of it. These are things that I was not, like, the side of Canada that, I guess, that I was not aware of. I cannot judge it, I cannot complain about it. It's not, you know, I just feel grateful enough to start my life here and to get exactly what I've always wanted, and I just want to protect it as much as possible. So I'm not like really looking into the negatives, just to keep it real. I know it's very cliche, but the weather is very, very hard to deal with. I was very happy, you know, it was winter wonderland for like 3 months, it was cool, but then I feel like when I started feeling homesick and like really far from my family, it was also times that the weather was constantly gray and constantly snowing, and it was in the middle of April, and it was, you know, it was just too long of a winter. And so I don't know how I'm going to be coping in the next few years and the rest of my life, but I just have to deal with it at this point, you know what I mean? I'm just like thinking of the good and the bad, and the good really outweighs the bad. So if my negative is the weather, honestly I feel like just every other Canadian, so I just don't feel like it's that bad that I have to complain about it. But it's deeper than just me complaining about it. It gets hard on my mental health. I do get the winter blues in Morocco, so I'm getting the winter blues here on steroids. That's the only thing that I can think of. If you have any negatives, let me know what they are. I'm curious to know what people don't like around here, but also tell me what you like, and let's keep the positive chain going. That's it for me, guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you want to follow me on Instagram, I will leave my handle in one of these corners. You can follow me on there. It's a day-to-day life in Toronto. It is beautiful, as you can see, super sunny. The weekends have been popping, and so yeah, I hope to see you there. Don't forget to subscribe, of course. I will see you next time.